Welcome, everyone, to our deep dive into color therapy. I think it's safe to say that you're all here because you're at least a little bit curious about how color impacts our mental and physical well-being. And I have to say, after reading through this academic paper titled Color Therapy and Mental Health and Well-Being, I'm fascinated. What really blew my mind was that this isn't some new age fad, it's something with roots that go way back, like way, way back.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I mean, even the ancient Egyptians were using color therapeutically.
Really?
Yeah, they had these sun-activated solarium rooms with colored glass.
Oh, wow. That's incredible.
And you know what's fascinating is that these ancient practices, they kind of hint at something that we're now exploring scientifically.
Yeah.
The idea that color, as like a vibration of light, interacts with our own energy fields.
So it's not just about like how a room looks, it's about how those colors might be affecting our bodies on like an energetic level.
Precisely. Each color vibrates at a different frequency, and these vibrations can influence our energy centers, known as chakras.
Okay, let's unpack the chakras a bit because I know they're important in things like yoga and meditation, but how do they tie into color therapy specifically?
Okay, so think of the chakras like energy centers along your spine, each associated with a specific color, and each governing certain bodily functions and emotional states. For example, the root chakra is represented by red and is all about grounding and stability.
Oh, okay.
So let's say you're feeling anxious or ungrounded or lacking in physical vitality. Working with the color red, whether through visualization, wearing red clothing, or even surrounding yourself with red objects, could potentially help to re-energize and stabilize this chakra.
That's so interesting. I mean, it makes you wonder how many of our everyday color choices like are actually subconscious attempts to balance ourselves, but like could wearing a certain color really have that much of an impact? What does the research say about this?
Well, it's a complex area of study,
Yeah.
and there's still a lot that we are learning. However, the idea that color can influence us isn't just an ancient belief. Modern research shows that color creates electrical impulses in the brain, and these impulses impact hormones and biochemical processes. For example, certain colors, like blue and purple, they seem to have a calming effect on the nervous system, while others, like red, can be stimulating, though potentially agitating for some.
So it's not just a placebo effect, like there's actual science backing up this idea that different colors affect our bodies differently.
Precisely.
That's really cool.
Now, while some responses to color seem like universal, blue being calming and red being energizing, it's not always that simple.
Oh.
Cultural context plays a role too. What's seen as joyful in one culture might be associated with mourning in another.
Oh, that's a good point. I hadn't thought about that.
So it's not like a one-size-fits-all situation.
So I guess like a qualified color therapist could really help someone personalize this approach.
Absolutely. A good color therapist can help you to explore your unique relationship with color, taking into account your personal preferences and your cultural background. They can then recommend specific applications based on your individual needs.
That makes a lot of sense. So if color therapy is about using colors to like address specific imbalances, what are some examples of how different colors are used? I know our source material had like a whole extensive list.
You did?
Like what were some of the standouts for you?
Well, it mentioned that wearing red while exercising might enhance performance.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and yellow could potentially improve memory.
Okay, hold on. I need to take notes. Yellow for memory. Okay, what else?
And blue might even boost creativity.
Wow, okay. Blue for creativity. This is fascinating. Imagine like color coding your day for optimal performance. I mean, what else was on that list?
Well, green is often associated with relaxation and purification, while white and yellow are believed to stimulate the lymphatic system. Red, as we mentioned earlier, is thought to invigorate, but can also lead to agitation in those who are already tense.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So it's really not just about picking a color you like, it's about understanding how it might affect you personally.
Right. But this idea that color can influence not just our mood, but like even our physical health, that's where it gets really interesting, I think.
Well, and there's definitely a growing body of research that's exploring these possibilities. Some researchers even suggest avoiding yellow in the dining room if you're watching your weight,
Oh, really?
as it might stimulate appetite.
Oh, that's interesting.
However, it's important to remember that more rigorous studies are needed before we, make definitive statements about specific health claims.
Got it. Cautious optimism is key.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got this like ancient history of color therapy. We've got some intriguing modern research coming out. We've got this whole chakra system to consider. But there's one more piece of this puzzle that I'm really curious about. Numerology and its connection to color. Like, how does that work?
Yeah. Color numerology is essentially where the language of numbers meets the vibrancy of color.
Okay.
So it involves analyzing your birth date and its numerical significance to discover your potential color. It's thought that this color resonates with your core essence and can enhance different aspects of your life.
So you're saying there might be a color out there that's like my personal lucky charm based on my birthday. I'm definitely going to have to look into this.
It's a fun way to explore how color might influence your personality, your strengths, and even your challenges. It adds another layer to this whole idea of color as a language that speaks to our subconscious.
I'm already starting to see color in a whole new light. Before it was just about like aesthetics, but now I'm seeing it as this potentially powerful force that can like influence our mood, our behavior, and even our well-being.
And as we've discussed, while more research is needed, the historical and cultural significance of color therapy, coupled with these emerging scientific insights, it definitely suggests there's more to color than meets the eye.
It really does. But I'm curious, color therapy wasn't just an Egyptian phenomenon, right? Who else was experimenting with the power of color?
Oh, well, if we fast forward a few millennia to ancient Greece.
Okay.
Now, they didn't always have those stark white marble temples that we imagine.
Oh, really?
They actually used a lot of vibrant colors. They believed different hues had specific healing properties.
Wow. I never knew that. So what kind of colors were they using and like what were the beliefs behind them?
Well, for instance, they associated blue with tranquility and wisdom, and they often used it in spaces for contemplation and healing. Red, on the other hand, was linked to vitality and strength, and it was believed to stimulate circulation and energy.
Wow.
They even chose clothing colors for different occasions and purposes.
That's incredible. It's amazing how integrated color was into their daily lives and like their understanding of well-being.
Yeah, and you see that thread throughout history. I
Yeah.
mean, in ancient China, for instance, color was central to traditional Chinese medicine. The five-element theory links specific colors to different organs, emotions, and even seasons.
So it's not just a modern trend. It's something that's been recognized for centuries across different cultures.
Exactly. And that recognition has continued into modern times.
Yep.
In the 19th century, you had these American pioneers of chromotherapy, like Dr. Seth Pancoast and Edwin Dwight Babbitt. They were conducting research and publishing books on the therapeutic uses of color.
Wow. What were they doing back then? Like what kind of methods were they using?
Well, they experimented with a variety of techniques. They would expose patients to colored light. They used colored fabrics and filters. They even prescribed color-specific foods and drinks.
Wow. Color therapy cocktails. That's a concept I can get behind. But on a serious note, it's really interesting to see how these early pioneers were like laying the groundwork for what we know today as color therapy.
Absolutely. And their work paved the way for others. I mean, in the early 20th century, Dinshaw P. Gattiali, an Indian-born American scientist, he dug even deeper into the science, researching the effects of colored light and developing something called spectrochrome therapy.
So he was taking a more scientific approach, like trying to understand the mechanisms behind the effects.
Precisely. He believed that different colors corresponded to specific chemical potencies and that exposure to these colors could stimulate or balance various physiological processes. He even created a detailed chart outlining color applications for different ailments.
Wow, that's really cool. It's interesting to see this blend of ancient wisdom with modern scientific inquiry in color therapy. It's like a bridge between the mystical and the measurable.
Yeah, and that's part of what makes it so intriguing. It encourages us to explore both our subjective experience of color and the objective effects it might have on our bodies and minds.
I'm definitely feeling inspired to keep digging deeper into this. I mean, I'm already starting to see color in a whole new light, pun intended. But before we get too carried away, I think it's important to remember that any therapeutic approach, color therapy has its considerations. Our source material touches on some cautions that I think are worth exploring.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think it's essential to approach this topic with a healthy dose of critical thinking, and consider potential limitations or risks that might be associated with color therapy.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What are some of the potential downsides or risks that people should be aware of?
Well, first and foremost, it's crucial to seek out qualified and experienced color therapists.
Of course.
Just like any field, there are practitioners with varying levels of expertise, and you want to ensure you're working with someone who has a solid understanding of color theory, therapeutic applications, and safety protocols.
Yeah, absolutely. Like we wouldn't go to just anyone for medical advice. So the same principle applies here, right? It's about finding practitioners who have, the knowledge, the skills, and the experience to like guide people safely and effectively.
Exactly.
Okay, so that's a good one to remember.
Hmm.
What else?
And just as importantly, I think, consult with a medical professional before starting any new therapeutic approach,
Mm,
including color therapy.
right.
This is particularly important if you have pre-existing health conditions or are taking medication.
Yeah, so we're not suggesting that color therapy should replace conventional medicine. It's more about like exploring it as a complementary approach that might enhance well-being alongside like other treatments and therapy.
Precisely. It's about integrating different approaches to support overall health and well-being.
Yeah, okay.
Now, our source material doesn't go into great detail about potential negative effects, but it's worth acknowledging that they do exist, even if they're relatively rare.
Okay, so what kind of negative effects are we talking about? Like what could happen?
Well, some people might experience sensitivity to certain colors or light frequencies.
Oh, okay.
This could manifest as headaches, eye strain, or even mood changes. It's also possible that certain colors could trigger anxiety or agitation in some individuals, especially if they have underlying psychological conditions.
So it's not all like rainbows and butterflies.
Right.
There's a need for caution and an awareness of like individual sensitivities. Like anything else, I guess, what works for one person might not work for another.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's why approaching color therapy with like an open mind, healthy skepticism, and a willingness to like listen to your body and intuition is so important. If something feels off or doesn't resonate, it's perfectly okay to stop or explore alternative approaches.
I love that message of like empowerment. It's about taking ownership of our well-being and like finding what works best for us as individuals, right?
Yeah.
Like there's no one-size-fits-all approach to health and happiness, and the same goes for color therapy.
Now, while our source material doesn't dive deeply into specific risks or contraindications, it really emphasizes the importance of working with qualified professionals and consulting a doctor before starting any color therapy treatments.
Right.
And this is sound advice for anyone considering this field.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a good reminder that even though color therapy might seem like gentle and non-invasive, it's still a powerful modality that should be approached with like respect and awareness.
Yeah.
It's not about like dismissing the potential benefits, but ensuring we're using color safely and responsibly.
Well said. Now, shifting gears a bit, let's explore color psychology, which examines how color influences our emotions, behaviors, and perceptions.
Okay, color psychology. I've always been curious about this. I mean, we all have colors we're drawn to or that instantly evoke certain feelings.
Right.
Is there science behind these reactions, or is it all subjective?
It's a fascinating interplay of both, actually. Personal preferences and cultural associations definitely matter, but research also suggests that color can directly impact our nervous system and brain chemistry, influencing our mood, alertness, and even cognitive function.
So it's like our bodies and minds like understand a language of color even if we're not consciously aware of it.
That's a great way to put it. Think about walking into a bright yellow room.
Okay.
You'd likely feel more energized than if you were to walk into a dimly lit blue room, which might feel like calming or even melancholic.
It's true. I've definitely noticed like certain colors just instantly shift my mood. Like being surrounded by calming greens and blues really helps when I'm stressed.
Exactly. And these reactions aren't just anecdotal. There's evidence that color can influence our physiological and psychological states.
So what's the science behind this? Like how does color work its magic on our brains and bodies?
Well, remember, color is a form of light, which is electromagnetic energy. When light enters our eyes, it stimulates photoreceptors in the retina, sending signals to the brain. Okay, now different wavelengths of light, which correspond to different colors, they trigger different responses in the brain.
So it's like our brains have a built-in color decoder ring, like translating those wavelengths into specific emotions and sensations.
You could say that. For example, exposure to blue light, it suppresses melatonin production, which regulates sleep.
Okay.
That's why blue light from the devices can disrupt our sleep.
Ah, that explains why scrolling through my phone before bed is a recipe for a restless night.
Ugh.
But getting back to color psychology, what are some other examples of how, like, specific colors can impact our mood or behavior?
Well, studies show that exposure to red can increase heart rate and blood pressure,
Oh, wow.
which might explain why it's often associated with excitement, passion, and even aggression. Green, on the other hand, has been shown to have a calming effect on the nervous system, which is why it's often used in hospitals and places where relaxation is important.
Oh, that's fascinating. It's like color has been shaping our experiences all along without us even realizing it.
And it's not just about, like, immediate emotional responses either. Color can also influence our perceptions, judgments, and even our behaviors.
Oh, okay. Give me some examples. How can color impact our decision making or actions?
Well, for instance, studies have shown that people associate the color blue with trustworthiness and competence, which might be why many banks and financial institutions use blue in their branding.
Oh, that's interesting. So subconsciously, I might be more inclined to trust a company that uses blue in its logo.
It's possible. Color can definitely play a role in shaping our first impressions and influencing our choices. Another fascinating example is the use of color in marketing and advertising.
Oh, yeah.
Companies carefully select colors for their packaging, their logos, and their advertising campaigns to evoke specific emotions and associations in consumers.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's hard to imagine a fast food restaurant using calming blues and greens, They're more likely to go for reds and yellows to, stimulate appetite and create a sense of urgency.
Exactly. They're tapping into the psychology of color to influence consumer behavior.
Yeah.
And it's not just the food industry either. Think about the colors used in fashion, interior design, and even the digital world. I mean, colors everywhere, constantly shaping our experiences and perceptions, whether we realize it or not.
It's like color is this silent but powerful language, constantly communicating with us on a subconscious level.
Precisely. And the more we understand this language, the more we can harness its power to create environments, experiences, and even a sense of self that supports our well-being and helps us to thrive.
I love that perspective. It's about becoming more conscious of the role color plays in our lives and using that knowledge to our advantage.
Now, speaking of the power of color to influence well-being, let's discuss a specific application that's gained quite a bit of attention and scientific validation. Light therapy for seasonal affective disorder. SAD.
Oh, yeah, light therapy. I've heard about this, especially for people who struggle with the winter blues.
Right.
How does it work, and what role does color play?
Well, SAD is a type of depression that's linked to the changing seasons, typically occurring in the fall and winter when there's less natural sunlight.
Okay.
The theory is that this reduced sunlight disrupts our circadian rhythms, affecting the production of hormones like serotonin and melatonin, which regulate our mood.
So our bodies are craving that sunshine, that vitamin D boost.
Yeah.
And when we don't get enough, our moods can take a dip.
That's a simplified way to put it, but you've got the right idea. So light therapy for SAD involves exposure to bright light, often with a specific color temperature, for a certain amount of time each day. The most common type uses a light box that emits bright white light, essentially mimicking natural sunlight.
So you're basically giving your body a dose of artificial sunshine to combat the winter blues.
Exactly. And while white light is the most common, some studies suggest that blue light might be particularly effective for SAD because it has a stronger effect on suppressing melatonin production,
Oh, interesting.
which can help reset our circadian rhythms and improve mood.
It's like tricking our brains into thinking it's a bright sunny day, even when it's gloomy outside.
Exactly. And the good news is that light therapy has been shown to be effective for SAD, with studies demonstrating its ability to improve mood, energy levels, and sleep quality.
That's fantastic. It's a great example of harnessing the power of color and light to positively impact our mental and physical well-being.
Absolutely. And it highlights the importance of considering not just the colors we surround ourselves with, but also the quality and intensity of light in our environments. Our bodies and minds are connected to the natural rhythms of light and darkness, and paying attention to these rhythms can make a big difference in our overall well-being.
I'm already starting to feel more energized just thinking about all this sunshine. But before we get too carried away with the bright side of color, let's revisit the research and scientific backing for color therapy.
Yeah.
We've touched on this throughout our conversation, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts on the current state of research in this field.
That's an excellent point. While color therapy has this long history, the research that's supporting its effectiveness is still relatively limited compared to, other more established therapeutic approaches.
So we're still in the early stages of understanding how and why color therapy might work.
Precisely. There have been some promising studies, like the ones we discussed on light therapy for SAD.
Yeah.
But many are small scale or have limitations that make it difficult to draw, like definitive conclusions.
So it's not like there's overwhelming proof that color therapy is a cure-all for every ailment.
Not quite. While many proponents point to anecdotal evidence and historical practices, the scientific community really is calling for more rigorous research to understand its mechanisms of action and to fully validate its effectiveness.
So it's a field that's like ripe for further exploration and scientific inquiry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's important to be aware of this when considering color therapy.
Yeah.
While there's potential, we need to approach it with, balance, acknowledging both its promising aspects and the need for more research.
Okay, that makes sense. So what kind of research is being done currently, and what kind of challenges do researchers face when they're, studying this?
Well, researchers are exploring a range of applications for color therapy, from its potential to reduce anxiety and improve mood to its possible effects on pain management, sleep quality, and even cognitive function. They're also investigating how color might influence our physiology and psychology, looking at things like brainwave activity, hormone levels, and heart rate variability.
So it's not just about observing whether color therapy works, it's about understanding the how and the why behind its effects.
Exactly. And this is where it gets a little bit tricky. Studying color is inherently complex because so many factors can influence its effects. You have individual preferences, cultural associations, the context of the experience, and even the specific shade or hue of the color being used.
So you can't just say, blue is calming and red is stimulating, because those responses can vary depending on, the person, the situation, and even the specific tone of the color.
Precisely. This variability makes it challenging to design studies that isolate color's effects and control for all these other variables.
Yeah, I see. It's like solving a puzzle with 1,000 pieces, all different shapes and colors.
That's a great analogy. But despite these challenges, researchers are making progress. They're developing more sophisticated methods for measuring and analyzing color's effects. They're beginning to unravel this complex interplay between color, light, and our biology.
So while we might not have all the answers yet, the future of color therapy research looks bright, pun intended.
I'd say so. As technology advances and our understanding of the brain and nervous system deepens, we're likely to see even more groundbreaking discoveries in the field of color therapy.
This is exciting stuff. It feels like we're on the cusp of unlocking a whole new world of possibilities for, using color to enhance our well-being.
And remember, even as we await the results of further research, we can still tap into the power of color in our daily lives.
Yeah.
Pay attention to the colors that make you feel good, the colors that energize you, the colors that bring you peace.
I love that advice. It's about becoming more mindful of our relationship with color and using that awareness to create environments and experiences that support our overall well-being.
Exactly. It's about embracing the power of color as a tool for self-care, creativity, and connection.
Well, this has definitely inspired me to add a little more color to my life, both literally and metaphorically. And I'm eager to hear more about those chakras too. They seem like such a key piece of the color therapy puzzle.
You're right, they are. And that's exactly what we'll explore next time in part 2 of our deep dive. We'll delve deeper into the chakra system, how it relates to color therapy, and how you can work with those energies in your own life. Welcome back to our deep dive into the fascinating world of color therapy.
I'm so glad to be back. We're picking up right where we left off, exploring color's potential to enhance our well-being and maybe even unlock some hidden potential within ourselves, right?
Absolutely. And speaking of unlocking potential, let's delve into those energy centers we touched on earlier.
Yeah.
The chakras.
Yes, the chakras. They've been intriguing me ever since we first mentioned them. I understand they're important in things like yoga and meditation, but I'm still a bit fuzzy on how they relate to color therapy specifically.
Well, that's a great question. It's easy to get lost in the esoteric side of chakras, So let's ground this in practical understanding.
Okay.
So imagine your chakras as swirling vortexes of energy running along your spine, each linked to specific organs, emotions, and aspects of your being.
Okay, so I'm picturing these spinning wheels of energy, each radiating a different color, a rainbow running through my body.
That's a vivid image. And the idea is that when these chakras are balanced and flowing freely, we experience optimal health and well-being. But when they become blocked or imbalanced, it can manifest as physical or emotional disease.
So it's our energy highways are getting congested, causing all sorts of problems.
Exactly. And that's where color therapy comes in. By using specific colors that correspond to each chakra, we can potentially clear those blockages and restore balance.
So color is like an energy drink for our chakras.
In a way, yes. For example, the root chakra, which is located at the base of the spine and associated with the color red, is all about grounding, stability, and our connection to the earth. Let's say you're feeling anxious or ungrounded or lacking in physical vitality. Working with the color red, whether through visualization, wearing red clothing, or even surrounding yourself with red objects, could help re-energize and stabilize this chakra.
Okay, so if I wanted to, like, boost my root chakra, I could try wearing red, visualizing red light, or even, like, decorating with red.
That's the idea.
Okay.
And it's not just about, like, fixing problems. It's also about enhancing our strengths, too. So moving up the spine, we encounter the sacral chakra, which is associated with orange and governs creativity, sensuality, and emotional well-being.
Oh, orange, such a, like, vibrant and joyful color. It makes sense that it would be linked to, like, creativity and passion.
Absolutely. So imagine someone is feeling creatively blocked or disconnected from their sensuality.
Yeah.
Working with orange might help to reignite those energies.
I'm starting to see how this, like, chakra system acts as a roadmap, showing us how to use color to, like, address specific areas of our lives.
Precisely. Each chakra has its own set of, like, qualities and challenges, and color therapy offers a way to address them. For example, the solar plexus chakra, associated with yellow and located in the upper abdomen, is all about personal power, self-esteem, and confidence.
Yellow, the color of, like, sunshine and inner strength.
Yeah.
I can definitely see the connection there.
And so if someone's struggling with low self-esteem or feeling powerless, working with yellow might help to empower them and boost their self-belief.
This is fascinating. Each color seems to have, like, its own personality and superpower that we can tap into.
That's a great way to think about it.
Yeah.
And as we move up, we encounter the heart chakra, which is associated with green and located in the center of the chest.
Okay.
It governs love, compassion, and forgiveness.
Green, the color of nature and healing, so fitting for the heart.
Indeed. So if someone's struggling with, like, heart-related issues, feeling emotionally closed off, or holding on to resentment, working with green might help to open their heart, promote forgiveness, and cultivate compassion.
Yeah, I really appreciate how, like, color therapy offers this, like, gentle and intuitive approach to dealing with, you know, not just emotional imbalances, but even, like, spiritual ones, too.
Absolutely. And as we continue upward, we find the throat chakra, which is associated with blue and located, you guessed it, in the throat area.
Okay.
This chakra, it governs communication, self-expression, and, speaking our truth.
Blue, the color of communication and clarity. It makes sense for the throat chakra.
Exactly. So if someone wants to improve their communication skills, express themselves more authentically, or, like, find their voice, working with blue could potentially help to amplify those abilities.
It's like we have this whole toolbox of resources at our disposal.
And as we reach the higher chakras, we encounter the third eye chakra, which is associated with indigo and located between the eyebrows.
Okay.
This one's all about intuition, insight, and inner wisdom.
Indigo, the color of, like, mystery and intuition, like our inner compass.
Exactly. So someone seeking to, enhance their intuition, connect with their inner wisdom, or just gain some clarity, they could explore working with indigo to potentially open up those pathways.
This is mind-blowing. It's like we have these, like, hidden energetic superpowers that we can activate with color.
And finally, we arrive at the crown chakra, which is associated with violet or white and located at the top of the head.
Okay.
It governs our connection to the divine, spirituality, and enlightenment.
Violet, the color of, like, spirituality and transcendence, our connection to, like, something greater.
Precisely. So if someone is seeking spiritual growth, a sense of purpose, or, like, a deeper connection to something bigger than themselves, working with violet or white might facilitate those aspirations.
Wow, this chakra system is so intricate and fascinating. It's like a whole language of, like, energy and color for understanding ourselves and the world around us.
Exactly. And while, chakras might seem a bit abstract, they provide a framework for understanding how our physical, emotional, and spiritual selves are, like, all connected.
Yeah. It makes me realize that, like, color therapy could be a bridge between these different aspects of ourselves, helping us create, like, a more holistic sense of well-being.
Precisely. And the beauty of working with the chakras is that it, like, empowers us to take an active role in our own healing and personal growth.
It's like we each have this, like, inner rainbow of energy that we can learn to cultivate and balance with color.
And as we do so, we might find that we're not just healing ourselves, but also radiating that, like, vibrant energy outward, creating a more harmonious and colorful world around us.
That's a beautiful thought. So color therapy isn't just about, like, individual well-being. It's also about, like, contributing to a more, like, vibrant and harmonious collective.
Well said. Now, while the chakra system is, like, a central concept in color therapy, is not the only way to approach this field.
Yeah.
We also have color psychology, which explores how color influences our emotions, behaviors, and perceptions more broadly.
Right, and we talked about how our responses to color can be both, like, universal and deeply personal.
Exactly. While there are general principles, like blue being associated with calmness and red with energy, individual experiences and cultural influences, they also play a significant role.
So what evokes, like, joy for one person might trigger anxiety in another.
Right.
It's about understanding our, like, unique relationship with color.
And that's where a qualified color therapist can be so helpful.
Yeah.
They can guide you in exploring your personal color preferences, identifying any sensitivities, and creating a tailored approach that supports your individual needs and goals.
It sounds like a very, like, collaborative process,
Yeah.
combining intuition with, like, an understanding of color's potential effects.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But let's not forget about the practical side of color therapy too.
Okay.
It's not all about formal therapy sessions, It can be integrated into everyday life.
Yeah. That's what I'm really curious about. What are some ways that, like, we can weave color into our daily routines and environments?
It can be as simple as being mindful of the colors we surround ourselves with in our homes, workplaces, and wardrobes.
So, like, making intentional choices that support our well-being, like choosing calming blues and greens for my home decor if I'm feeling, like, stressed or anxious.
Exactly. And if you're feeling sluggish or unmotivated, maybe a touch of vibrant orange or yellow in your workspace might give you an energy boost. It's about using color strategically to shift your mood, enhance your focus, or promote relaxation.
Yeah. This is so simple yet so powerful. It's like we have this readily available toolbox of colors to create the environments and experiences that we want.
And it's not limited to our physical surroundings either.
Oh.
We can integrate color into our daily activities too.
Okay, give me some examples. Like, how can I weave color into my daily life in practical ways?
Well, say you're feeling overwhelmed. Take a few moments to visualize calming blue light surrounding you. It might bring a sense of peace and clarity.
That's a great tip. I could definitely use that during those crazy work days.
Yeah.
What about if I'm feeling creatively blocked?
Spending time in nature, surrounded by greens and earthy browns, could help to spark inspiration and reconnect you to your creative flow.
Oh yeah, nature truly is a giant, inspiring color palette.
It really is.
Okay, that's a good one. Even choosing clothing colors that make you feel confident and energized can positively impact your day.
So if I need a confidence boost, I might wear that red dress that makes me feel unstoppable.
Exactly. It's about consciously using color to, support your emotional well-being and express your authentic self. It's starting to feel like color therapy is less about specific techniques and more about a way of life, being attuned to the subtle energies of color and using them to our advantage.
Well said. And as you become more aware of color's power, you might start noticing its subtle influences in all areas of your life.
Like how certain colors boost my productivity at work, or how wearing a specific color lifts my mood on a gray day.
Precisely. It's about paying attention to those cues and intentionally using color to create the experiences that you desire.
This is really eye-opening. I'm feeling inspired to pay more attention to color in my life and experiment with it in new ways. But I'm also aware that there's still so much to learn about color therapy, especially in terms of scientific validation. I'm curious to know more about the research, what's being studied and what kind of challenges researchers face in this field.
That's a great point. And a perfect segue into our next topic. While we've explored the historical and practical aspects of color therapy, the scientific side is equally important. We'll delve into the research, its limitations, and what the future might hold for color therapy in part 3 of our deep dive.
Welcome back for the final part of our deep dive into color therapy. And wow, we've covered a lot of ground, haven't we? From the history of potential benefits to those fascinating chakras.
It's been quite a journey, but we've only just scratched the surface.
I was just thinking that there's still so much more to uncover, and I, for one, am really eager to explore the research behind color therapy and understand the scientific perspective on it all. I know we touched on this a bit earlier, but could we dig a little deeper? What's the current state of the research? What kind of challenges do researchers face when they're studying this stuff?
Absolutely. It's a great question, and it really highlights both the excitement and the complexity of this whole field. Because while color therapy has this really long and rich history, the scientific evidence that's supporting its effectiveness, it's still catching up.
So we're still kind of in the early stages of understanding exactly how and why color therapy works then.
Yeah, exactly. We have some promising studies, especially in areas like light therapy for seasonal affective disorder, which we talked about before.
Right.
But many of these studies are, small in scale or have limitations that make it difficult to, like, draw really definitive conclusions.
So we can't just say color therapy is a cure-all
Hmm.
definitively, right?
Not quite, no.
Hmm.
I mean, many proponents point to anecdotal evidence and historical practices, but the scientific community is still calling for more rigorous research to really understand color therapy's mechanisms of action and to fully validate its effectiveness.
So it's a field ripe for further exploration then. Lots of potential for discovery.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's important to be aware of this when you're considering color therapy.
Yeah.
Like we need to approach it with balance, acknowledging both its promising aspects and the need for more research.
That makes sense. So what kind of research, is being done right now, and what are some of those challenges that researchers are facing when they're trying to study this?
Well, researchers are exploring a really wide range of applications for color therapy, from its potential to reduce anxiety and improve mood to its possible effects on pain management, sleep quality, even cognitive function.
Hmm.
They're investigating how color influences both our physiology and our psychology by looking at things like brainwave activity, hormone levels, and heart rate variability. All sorts of fascinating things.
Wow. So it's not just about observing whether color therapy works or not. It's about understanding the how and the why behind its effects.
Exactly. And this is where things get a little tricky. Studying color and its effects is inherently complex because so many factors can influence them. You have individual preferences, cultural associations, even the context in which a color is experienced, and even the specific shade or hue of the color being used all play a part.
Wow. So you can't just say blue is calming and red is stimulating because those responses could vary depending on the person, the situation, and even the specific tone of the color.
Precisely. And this variability makes it challenging to design studies that isolate the effects of just color and control for all those other variables.
I see. So it's like a giant puzzle with 1,000 pieces, all in different shapes and colors.
That is a great analogy, but despite these challenges, researchers are making progress. They're developing more sophisticated methods for measuring and analyzing color's effects, and they're beginning to unravel this complex interplay between color, light, and our biology.
So while we might not have all the answers just yet, the future of color therapy research looks bright, pun intended.
I'd say so. As technology advances and our understanding of the brain and nervous system deepens, we're likely to see even more groundbreaking discoveries in the field of color therapy.
It really is exciting to think about the possibilities, but while we wait for more of that research, I'm wondering, isn't there still so much we can do with color in our daily lives? I mean, we've talked about the chakras, color psychology, practical ways to incorporate color into our lives, but I feel like there's another layer to this conversation, this like spiritual side of color.
Absolutely. Throughout history, color has been deeply intertwined with, like, spirituality and mysticism.
Yeah, I mean, we see it everywhere in stained glass windows and cathedrals, vibrant mandalas used for meditation, the symbolic use of color in all sorts of ancient rituals.
Exactly. Different colors have long been associated with specific deities, spiritual qualities, and even realms of consciousness.
Like how blue is often linked to peace and tranquility, white to purity and divine light, and purple to royalty and spiritual wisdom.
Precisely. And in many traditions, color is seen as more than just a visual phenomenon. It's believed to carry vibrational energy that can influence our spiritual awareness and connection to the divine.
So color could be a bridge between the physical and the spiritual realms.
That's a beautiful way to put it. For example, in aura readings, which are a form of energy assessment, different colors in a person's aura are believed to reflect their emotional, mental, and spiritual state.
Oh, so if someone has a predominantly blue aura, it might suggest they're calm and intuitive.
Exactly. And a lot of red in their aura could indicate a lot of passion and energy.
That's fascinating. It's like color speaks a language that like resonates with our very essence in a way.
And in some spiritual practices, color is used very intentionally to enhance meditation, to promote healing, and to facilitate spiritual experiences.
Like how visualizing white light is often used in healing practices to promote purification and balance.
Precisely. Or how meditating on the color green might help open the heart chakra and cultivate compassion.
Color can be a powerful tool for spiritual growth and transformation.
And it's not just about specific colors for specific purposes. It's about developing a deeper awareness of the energy and symbolism that colors hold.
It's about becoming more conscious of those subtle messages that color is constantly communicating, right?
Exactly. And as we do that, we might find that color can even guide us on our spiritual journeys, offering insights, inspiration, and a deeper connection to something greater than ourselves.
It's like color can be this compass pointing us towards our highest potential.
Speaking of potential, let's bring this all back to the transformative power of color therapy. We've explored how color influences our mood, our behavior, and even our physical health.
Right, from calming anxiety to sparking creativity, color seems to have a superpower for just about every occasion.
And while these benefits are really significant, color therapy might also help facilitate even deeper levels of personal growth and transformation.
And that's what excites me the most about it. How can color help us become the best versions of ourselves?
Well, for one thing, color therapy can help us to become more aware of our emotional patterns and blockages.
Like how I might notice I tend to wear a lot of gray when I'm feeling kind of down, or how being in a yellow room just makes me feel more optimistic.
Exactly. By paying attention to our color preferences and how different colors make us feel, we can gain these really valuable insights into our emotional landscape.
It's like color is a mirror reflecting our inner state back to us.
Yes, and once we become aware of those patterns, we can use color more intentionally to shift our energy and create positive changes.
Okay, so, if I'm feeling stuck, surrounding myself with vibrant orange could help me break free and embrace new possibilities.
Precisely. Or if you're struggling with fear or insecurity, visualizing yourself bathed in calming blue light might help you to feel more courageous and confident.
I love how color therapy really empowers us to take control of our emotional well-being and create the experiences we desire.
It goes beyond emotions, too. Color can also help us tap into our creativity, our intuition, and our spiritual connection.
Like how meditating on indigo might enhance my intuition, or how surrounding myself with green could help to inspire new ideas.
Exactly. Color can be a catalyst for personal growth, helping us unlock our hidden potential and expand our awareness.
It's like color is this key that unlocks the doors to our inner world.
And as we explore that inner world, we may even find that we're not just changing ourselves, but transforming the world around us, too.
Like a ripple effect.
Hmm.
Our individual transformation creates positive change in our relationships, communities, and even on the planet.
Well said. Color therapy is a reminder that we're all interconnected and that our inner world is always reflected in the outer world.
Yeah. It's a beautiful reminder that we have the power to create a more vibrant, harmonious, and colorful world, both within ourselves and around us.
As we wrap up our deep dive into color therapy, I want to leave our listeners with this final thought. Remember that color is a gift, a language, a source of healing, and a catalyst for transformation.
It's a reminder to embrace the full spectrum of colors in our lives and allow their beauty and energy to guide us.
Keep exploring, keep experimenting, and keep shining your unique colors out into the world.
And never underestimate the power of color to uplift, inspire, and transform.
Because when we embrace the magic of color, we open ourselves up to a world of infinite possibilities.
And that is a wrap on our deep dive into color therapy. I hope you've enjoyed this colorful journey as much as we have.
Until next time, may your world be filled with vibrant hues and boundless inspiration.